You know the drill. A massive tour gets announced, you wait incredibly patiently in a digital queue, the clock strikes 0, and within literally 90 seconds, the entire arena is completely sold out. Poof, gone. And you didn't lose out because you were too slow. You lost because you were human, and you were competing against an industrial machine. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a fascinating, frankly game-changing structural shift designed to end this exact scenario. We're looking at Linkspreed's Web4 UIID.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the numbers behind this frustration are absolutely brutal. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, scalpers capture between 30 and 50% of all tickets for high-demand events. Just think about that. Up to half the arena isn't actually going to the fans who waited in line. It's being harvested by automated systems that are literally just designed to turn a massive profit at your expense.
And look, this isn't just a minor economic annoyance, right? It's a full-blown legitimacy crisis for the industry. We're at a point where automated purchasing programs are responsible for roughly 20% of all ticket purchases. They are feeding a massive $32 billion global secondary market. And it gets worse. About 4% of all tickets sold out there are completely fake, which creates a staggering $3.6 billion counterfeit fraud pool. No wonder a recent survey in Singapore found that nearly 65% of people feel scalping prevents genuine fans from even participating in live events anymore.
Section 1. The walled garden problem. Governments and ticketing platforms are obviously trying to fight back, but our current solutions to this crisis are actually creating a whole new secondary trap for fans.
See, the industry has spent a decade playing a highly sophisticated but ultimately losing guess who. They analyze your typing speed, they make you click on blurry pictures of crosswalks and traffic lights, all just to guess if you're a human being. But as Boomy's CTO David Irecki points out, this is a fatal flaw. It's an arms race of statistical inference. And it's an arms race defenders will structurally always lose, because any behavior you can measure can eventually be simulated by a better bot.
So what's the alternative? We need to stop guessing and start knowing. Behavioral inference is basically an educated guess. But a cryptographic proof? That is a mathematical certainty. It's like a physical lock and key. An algorithmic bot can simulate mouse clicks all day long, for sure. But a digital signature tied to physical hardware? That cannot be simulated. It can only be held.
The current state-of-the-art alternative to scalpers is essentially a walled garden. Think of systems like Ticketmaster's SafeTix. It rotates a barcode every 15 seconds and locks the ticket to your specific device. And technically, yeah, it works pretty well to stop casual duplicates, but it turns your ticket from a traditional item you own into a permissioned credential locked inside a corporate app. Even the DOJ has noted this ends up routing more data through a single platform. It presents this false choice to us, either be exploited by scalpers or get fully enclosed in a corporate data harvesting ecosystem.
Section 2. Enter the Web4 identity. What if there was a third option? Well, Linkspreed's decentralized Web4 framework proposes a radically different way to solve the bot problem, completely without becoming a centralized gatekeeper of your data.
The foundational piece of all this is the UID, which stands for Universal Integrated Identity Decoupled. Okay, yes, that is a massive mouthful, but think of it simply as your sovereign digital anchor. It provides a verifiable answer to one very specific question. Is this buyer a unique human? And it does this brilliantly without ever requiring the ticketing company to actually know your name, your address, or who you really are.
So the crucial point is how this stack is built. Linkspreed's Web4 stack has 7 layers, but just 3 are absolutely crucial for ticketing. Layer 1 is your identity node. Layer 5 provides storage, meaning the ticketing platform doesn't need a giant centralized database to hoard your personal info. And Layer 7 is the hardware. This means your private key lives securely on your actual physical smartphone or smartwatch, not in some vendor's vulnerable cloud server.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the setup maintains total privacy, using something called zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs. Let's say a venue needs to know you're over 18, or maybe that you're a local resident for a special presale. With a ZKP, your UUID mathematically proves, yes, I meet the criteria, without ever handing over your actual birth date or your home address. It's actually the exact same cryptographic discipline behind the European Union's 2026 privacy blueprints, just applied to make ticketing fair.
Section 3. How cryptographic ticketing works. Now that we have all these puzzle pieces on the table, let's look at how they combine to create a radically new and fair ticketing flow.
We can basically break this whole thing down into 4 distinct phases. If implemented, this reference design ensures that exactly one human gets exactly one ticket allocation, period.
Let's walk through exactly how that happens. In phases 1 and 2, the fan enrolls just once on their own hardware. When that stressful on-sale window finally opens, the system doesn't throw a CAPTCHA at you to ask if you're a bot, it challenges your device for a digital signature. Because of a process called UID hashing, the system mathematically verifies your uniqueness. This completely neutralizes what we call Sybil attacks, meaning a scalper with 10,000 throwaway email addresses, they don't get 10,000 spots in the queue anymore. They literally just get one.
Then comes phase 3, which is issuing the actual ticket. Unlike current systems, where the ticket is just locked in an app, the UID ticket is what's called a countersigned object. It is dual-signed by the event promoter and your physical hardware. This instantly destroys that $3.6 billion counterfeit market we talked about earlier. Why? Because you can't fake the ticket without the promoter's private key, and you can't steal it without physically holding the fan's hardware device. It's brilliant.
But of course, real fans have real lives. Plans change, right? Tickets need to be transferred. Phase 4 handles this natively. The UID protocol can actually encode rules like face value price ceilings or strict transfer limits directly into the ticket credential itself. So, if an $800 ticket is capped at face value, all that surplus value is redirected away from the secondary scalper market and straight back toward the actual artists and venues who are taking the risk in the first place.
Section 4. The end of anonymous bots. Up until now, we've really only talked about keeping bots out, but Linkspreed's UID version 2.8 update introduces a completely counterintuitive plot twist.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the philosophical shift it represents. The solution isn't actually trying harder to detect bots, it's forcing them to declare themselves. As this Linkspreed representative points out, the goal here is to bring the era of anonymous digital ghosts to a close. Every entity has to present its digital passport.
And this creates the ultimate dilemma for bots. Helpful bots, like accessibility assistants, buying tickets for disabled fans, or legit fan club automations, they can now operate completely in the open by declaring themselves as an AI agent UID. They get a digital passport. But scalper bots, they are forced into an impossible corner. They either register honestly and get immediately blocked by policy, or they try to impersonate a human. And doing that now requires forging a physical, KYC-packed, hardware-anchored cryptographic key. It's basically game over.
Section 5. The future of fair access. Okay, it all sounds incredibly promising, but to remain completely objective, we really need to look at what this technology can and cannot fix.
First off, let's be real. Cryptography does not magically create more seats in an arena. Scarcity is still scarcity. Second, because your identity is anchored to a physical device like a smartphone, there is a very real risk of digital exclusion for people who don't have one. Plus, if you lose your phone or the battery simply dies right at the gate, the stakes are incredibly high since there's no central database to just easily reset your account. Finally, this system only works if the decentralization is genuine. If we just end up replacing a ticketing monopoly with an identity monopoly, we haven't actually solved the structural problem.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. By replacing behavioral guessing with mathematical certainty, we absolutely have the tools to completely shift digital ownership, stripping out the scalper's rent and the platform's data harvest. The real question we have to ask ourselves is, are we finally ready to embrace an internet where scarce resources mean exactly one ticket per person and anonymous automation simply becomes a thing of the past? Thanks for diving into the Explainer with us today.